Welcome everyone back to the Touchline Podcast. Today we've got a very special guest on. It's truly an honour to have this guy on the podcast. Former first grade player, former great coach, is the man solely responsible for a lot of great successes throughout many clubs in history. He is currently the manager of Canterbury Bulldogs, manager of football. Some might call him the Godfather or the Good Father. Without further ado, please welcome none other than Mr. Phil Gould. Gus, how are you, man?
Thank you, Gus.
Appreciate you coming on, man. Truly not, as I said, it's truly an honour to have you on. We watched you throughout basically our whole life, watching rugby league. You're the first face that we see on the commentary, and again, truly an honour, man.
Pleasure.
Thank you.
Well, let's get into, first of all, your coaching career, especially at Bulldogs and Panthers at Roosters. First of all, I want to talk about the stats during your time at Bulldogs and Penrith. So at Bulldogs, you coached 47 games, 29 wins, 2 draws, 16 defeats, and in total, that's 62 win percentage. And now you look at Penrith, 115 games coached, 64 wins, 4 draws, 47 defeats, and 56 win percentage. Now, not a lot of coaches have that sort of stats, especially you, like only Craig Bellamy and Wayne Bennett have sort of the record like you do. Like the record you have, you might be coaching Tigers now. They need your help.
Yeah. I think a lot of it has to do with the players.
Yeah.
More than the coach, particularly back in that day.
Yeah.
Sorry guys, if you want to come closer to the mic, man. Yeah.
So what are your coaching techniques as a coach which brought so many success to Penrith and Bulldogs, especially winning many premierships in 1988 and 1991?
Coaching philosophies. Well, back then coaching was very different. We didn't have, first of all, we weren't full-time. Well, certainly the players weren't full-time. We didn't have assistant coaches. We didn't even have full-time staff in medical and strength and conditioning. And to be honest, for a lot of it, it was just me and a trainer, a part-time trainer, and we did everything ourselves. My basic philosophy, what I advise young coaches is, the first philosophy is that I work for the players, they don't work for me. I work for the players. And I figure if I work hard, if my work ethic was good, if I covered all the things we needed to do, then I would expect them to do the same. And I felt that if I worked hard, they would want to work hard too. My philosophy was pretty simple, to know ourselves as well as we can, to know our own strengths and weaknesses, and to know our opposition better than they knew themselves. And that's a lot of study, it's a lot of watching football, it's a lot of time in front of the video. And in the early days, it was going to games, live games, to watch your opposition play. So I'd go, when we played a team, over the previous 6 weeks, I'd gone and watched them 3 or 4 times live in
that's
those
great,
days, and then come back and try and find the video that would help our team. But I think, and in all of that, you're saying be prepared, attention to detail, and to play to your strengths, and to hopefully isolate the weaknesses in the opposition. It's a pretty basic philosophy.
Well, you can, stats don't lie. As of course you were a player, you moved into the coaching, career. Were you ever worried, heading into a new chapter into your life, becoming a coach? Was there pressure on you? Were you a bit worried heading into that?
No, not really. No, it was, and things were different back then. But I went and played at the Bulldogs. We won premierships here in '84 and '85, and I went and played my last year with South. By '86, when everyone was fit and well, I couldn't make the team, so I went to play with South for 1 year and had a wonderful time there. And they got me back to coach the reserve grade here in '87, and then the first grade in '88. So it all happened very, very quickly.
And you were the youngest captain for the Panthers at 20 years old back then.
That's
young
right.
Captain, young coach. It all happened pretty quickly, as I say.
Would you ever return back to coaching, or it's over days for you?
Now?
Now.
No, I couldn't.
Gus, we need you.
Now.
We need you.
I'm too old now. No, it's a different game now. It's a whole different sort of thing. I mean, we've got so many staff down there, and they all specialise. We've got sports science, we've got strength and conditioning, we've got 3 assistant coaches. The assistants have got assistant coaches. We have 3 or 4 people working in recruitment and development, and we've got a Pathways Academy now with a lot of staff working down there, a lot of former players.
It's crazy how the game has revolutionised.
It's pretty big business.
Yeah.
Has those moments as a player and a coach shaped you into the general manager you are? You've brought success, as Bill said, to many clubs. So has that shaped you up to the man you are today?
Well, yeah, it certainly played a big part in it. I mean, at the end of the day, we're all players. I love playing the game. When you get too old and broken to play, you coach because you think you've got something to offer. And then when you get too old to coach, I found myself in these administrative roles. Nothing was ever planned. I never planned to coach, and I certainly never planned to work as a general manager. But all through that, And there's a lot of experience and people that you've met along the way that can help you. This is my 49th year
Wow.
in professional rugby league.
Wow, that's impressive.
How do you do it, Gus? How do you like? We get it, it's your passion. You love to do it. Like, but what keeps you going? What?
Well, you've got to love it.
Yeah.
If you don't love it, you're not going to do it. And I say that to even young players. If you don't actually love it, then you're not going to do the hard work to do
Exactly.
it. But I've been a player, I've been a coach, I've been working in the media, all forms of media, and now in these sort of management roles with clubs. I haven't planned anything along the way. It was not my plan to do that, but that's how my life's unfolded. I'm truly blessed to have had the jobs I've had, to still be in the game that I love, and working with great people. And I think that's what hopefully keeps you young.
Yeah. Like, was there ever a time like, during your career where it's like, as you said, it's your passion, you love to do it. Was there ever a time where it's like where that passion, faded away a bit, or was there ever a time, or was it always constant from start to now?
No, the only time I struggled in my career, we had the unfortunate tragedy at Penrith of the death of one of our players, Ben Alexander, and that was an extremely trying time at that period of time. And it really badly affected the club, and we had to rebuild the club over the next couple of years. And at that point, I was going to give it away. I was going to go back into the workforce. But an opportunity came with the Roosters, and I went on to coach with them, and I've been in the game ever since. But that was the most trying time of my life and my career, and it was a very difficult time for the club at the time as well. But no, I've never lost the passion for the game or the love of the game.
Yeah.
Well, you mentioned you coach the Roosters. 125 games, 77 wins, 2 draws, 46 defeats, a 62% win percentage, which is incredible. Before you joined the club as a coach, what was the main thing you had to fix in that club, especially with them only playing finals footy in 1983? So it was a big drought for them.
Yeah, it was. And at that time, they just had a new chairman, a black fellow named Nick Politis. So I'd never met Nick before. The Roosters came to ask about coaching there. And they'd had some pretty poor results in the previous years before I got there. It was a club that virtually had to be built from the ground up. Very difficult, because Eastern Suburbs, they haven't got a very big junior league, any junior league at all. A lot of their players have to come in from country areas and surrounding areas and overseas. So we developed a pathway system there so that they could have sustainable success into the future. And Roosters has always been a good club for recruiting top talent.
You can see that now.
They're able to attract the top talent. But you're able to do that because you're also producing a lot of young players that are of really good value in the salary cap.
Exactly.
So when you want to go out and buy a Sonny Bill or a Cooper Cronk or a James Tedesco or something like that, they've sort of got that money available to do it. And they've got their side today. It's a lot of star power there, but a lot of them came to them at a very young age too. So
Now,
it was a club. It was a club like all of them are, with great passion. They were keen to do well. Nick Politis, wonderful man, and he was very passionate about it. He'd been the game's first ever sponsor.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Yeah,
That's right.
So, City Ford was the first ever team to appear on the Roosters jersey. It was the first team ever to sponsor a league. So he was a sponsor from 1976.
Yeah.
So it was nearly 20 years that he'd been there, and suddenly he became chairman. And they enticed me over there. And the first year was a difficult year. We went from sort of second last to equal eighth at the end of the year, but it was the year the Super League war started.
Yeah, that's right.
And so I was coaching and fighting a Super League war at the same time.
Exactly.
You're like too young to remember.
Yeah, not to make you feel old, Gus. But no, you mentioned.
You wouldn't have been alive when it
Yeah, we would like
No.
We've heard stories from our parents. Like it was a big thing back
Like that's all you hear, Super League. Like you get to hear the stories, but we didn't really live it to know what it was.
I'll have to write a book so you get the truth.
That's it.
For sure, buy it.
But since you mentioned Super League, now Brad Fittler, he was going through the Panthers ranks. He was a Panthers junior going through the ranks, and he decided to join the ARL while the Super League war was going on.
Yeah.
What was how did you convince Brad Fittler to come into the Roosters and bring him in to the ARL instead of going to the Super League?
Story, because Brad was a teenager when I first met him at Penrith, and he was obviously a great talent. And I remember the first time that he was coming off contract during my time at Penrith, and he said he had plenty of offers from elsewhere, of course, and he said, what do you think I should do? I said, look, you're a Penrith boy, you should stay at Penrith. If you ever leave here, he said, I would only ever go to Canterbury or the Broncos because you should never play for anything less than the best clubs around, and they're the best clubs, Canterbury and the Broncos. The Broncos were the biggest, and Canterbury was the one where I'd had, and I think every player would do well to have a year at Canterbury at some stage of their life. Certainly back then.
Yeah. Back then, it was crazy.
So then I left at the end of 94 and went to the Roosters, and of course the Super League war started, and we signed Brad on a contract to the ARL.
That's right,
as against the Super League. Yeah. And his club, Penrith, went off and signed with Super League.
Yeah, that's right.
So Brad couldn't go to Super League, so I actually took him to a basketball game to watch the Sydney Kings play. I sat there with him, I said, mate, you're going to have to leave Penrith and you should come to the Roosters. To which he said, you told me Canterbury or Brisbane. And I said, yeah. I said, but I think the Roosters are going to be bigger.
When Gus comes knocking on the door, you can't say no.
You got to accept it.
Which the Roosters ended up being wonderful for him, and he's got the career he's got today.
You could say he's a Roosters legend now, for sure.
Yeah, he is.
Well, he's a Penrith legend, and he's a Rooster legend.
Yeah, exactly.
Absolutely. I think he's one of the few players to play 200 games with one club and 100 with another. Played 100 for the Panthers, 200 for the Roosters, and extraordinary representative career. And post-career, you've seen what he's done now. He's been coaching Origin, and he's working at Channel 9. He's got a career for life. So the Roosters was a great move for him.
Yeah, it was.
Now, how honoured were you? Now, the Roosters had great success, 3 grand finals in a row, many final series in a row. How honoured were you to be the man to turn that club into the great success it is today?
Well, a lot of people work hard to make that happen. My as a general manager or as a coach, my job was to get the right people in the right jobs.
Yeah.
You can't do it all yourself.
You need a team.
No, exactly.
Yeah.
And I don't want to be the smartest bloke in the room either.
Yeah.
I need really qualified and smart people who are passionate about their work.
Yeah.
My job is to find the right people, put them in the right job, and support them to do what they need. Give them what they need to do their job. If they need assistance or help, well, I'm there to support. If they need advice, I'm there to offer it. But basically, it's to allow them to do their job and give them the resources to do it, and hopefully they form a unit that are passionate about what they're doing. And whether it was Roosters or Penrith or here at the Bulldogs now, there's a lot of people who work hard to do this. My job was simply to get the right people in the right jobs.
Yeah, but great success at those 3 clubs, Bulldogs, Roosters, Penrith. But now let's move to state footy, New South Wales. Your records, again, is crazy. A successful coach, 24 games, 16 wins, 1 draw, 9 defeats, 67 win percentage, and you had 6 series wins in 8 years. That's incredible. Not a lot of coaches in state of origin achieve some stat and record like what you did. How great is it to be classified as one of the greatest New South Wales coach in NRL history?
Well, that's nice. It's a wonderful time. It's an extraordinary competition, Origin. It's the best of the best.
Yeah, it
working
is.
with the best players in the game against very, very difficult opposition. Queensland, as we know, play with such passion, and Origin is very, very important to Queensland. So I had 8 series. We only lost one of those series. It's 6 wins and a
crazy.
draw.
That's remarkable, man.
But again, we had great players, and we had players that had to buy into what you wanted to do. I was very lucky in 1992 when I first went there, where New South Wales didn't have a great record, to run into a group of players that were very passionate about turning it around. And they become the first New South Wales team to win 3 series in a row. And a lot of the players in that side have since come back and coached New South Wales. Ricky Stewart, Laurie Daly, Brad Fittler, and a lot of the players have been in and around Origin camps. Your Danny Baderises and those sort of players that have come out of Origin football. When I came back in 2002, pretty much a similar sort of scenario, and I ran into another group of players that were really keen to do well. And we had 2 wins and a draw in 3 series that I coached then. It's the best. It's the toughest football. It's the highlight of our mid-season every year. It's the best versus the best. It's a different sort of coaching. It's a different sort of philosophy. Try to make it as special as you can for the players, and in the time that I had in Origin, I had 8 seasons. The players that played in those eras, they always felt like a club side. They had a special bond, and it's a very special time in their lives as well. It's one of the things I've always impressed on players, whether it's coaching at club level or Origin level. You're going through the best time of your life.
100%.
That's right.
This is the best time of your life.
Yeah, it
and
is.
you think it's going to last forever, and it's not. And, in years to come, you're going to look back on it either with regret, or you're going to look back on it very proud of what you did.
Exactly.
And it's kind of holding them up to that the whole time, so that they don't get deflated by defeat or setbacks or injuries, and that They don't get too ahead of themselves when they're having success. Success and failure can do different things for different people. And it's helped them to have the best career that they can, to earn as much money as they can, and set themselves up, hopefully, and their families for a better afterlife. Some of our greatest success stories never played NRL.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, that's true.
Kids that came into the system and it was the only form of education or friendship or love or discipline that they ever received. They come from very humble beginnings, some of these kids.
We could mention one of our mates, shout out Joey Maroon, was a Dogs junior making his way through the ranks. Unfortunately, injuries messed up his career and whatnot. You know, didn't get the cut in first grade. As you said, the best players are the ones that never played NRL. They didn't make first grade, but yeah, man, you're right.
You got to think. I mean, of all the players that played NRL throughout, all first grade football, and we're going right back to the beginning of time.
Yeah,
there's only been about 9,700 of them.
Wow.
Yeah.
Now, about 1,300 of those played one game.
Out. That's
Wow,
crazy.
it's
That's a
difficult.
crazy
And
stat.
something like 3,500 played less than 10 games.
Wow.
That's crazy.
Something like 6,600 played less than 50.
Wow.
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 So, those blokes aren't setting themselves up for life with money, and it shows how hard it is to have longevity.
Yeah.
If you play 100 first grade games, you're kind of in the top 12%.
Yeah.
If you play 200 first grade games, you're in the top 2%.
Yeah.
Which is extraordinary when you
Exactly.
think about it.
100%.
So it's, to have a long career in the NRL or in first grade football, they're special players.
Yeah.
They really are.
Yeah.
Other kids don't, for various reasons, injuries or. But it's a difficult game to play. You can't play it for money. You can't play it because other people want you to play it. Unless your heart's in it and you've got that constitution, then chances are you're not going to last that long.
Yeah.
Ones that do are very special. And then you've got your origin players at the top who
Yeah.
are extremely elite.
Like,
Yeah.
They are
Yeah.
unbelievable.
You did coach Andrew Johns, yeah?
I wouldn't call it coaching Andrew
But
Johns. He was in my
like
team.
a mentor, yeah. Oh, yeah.
He was in my team. Andrew was an extraordinary talent. I mean, honestly, I tell a lot of stories about Andrew, but he was obviously one of the greatest of all time. He's one of the 8 immortals.
Yeah.
We've got 13 now, but we call him the 8th immortal. He was an extraordinary talent.
Yeah, he's
Yeah, he
fantastic.
was.
And as a rep coach, it's a luxury to have players like that in your side.
Yeah.
You're coaching the best players in the game.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
100%.
And that's, we're playing against the best. We're playing against Alan Langers
Yeah.
and Darren Lockyers and those sort of players. But, that's why it's so special. But Andrew Johns was a phenomenal talent, no risk.
Yeah.
No, that's good. What was the difference between coaching club footy and compared to state footy?
Well, club footy, you've got them virtually, all year.
Yeah.
You spend the whole off season with them. You're planning. You've got some players that are young and just coming into first grade. You've got some players at the back end of their career and older and on the way out. You've got everything in between. And you've got players that are trying to prove themselves, and you're trying to put together a squad that can be competitive in the competition. And you've probably got them for a few years at a time, most of the players for a few years at a time. And you build your own special style and your own special bond and friendship with all of that, which is all a part of being successful. In State of Origin, they give you a week to bring 17 players from all the other clubs that compete with each other on a weekly basis and try to get the ingredients of a team in that short space of time so that they can trust each other, they can believe in each other, they can play together, and they can play a style that will suit them all, that we can play to our strengths, we can hide our weaknesses,
Yeah.
Yep.
we can handle the strengths of the opposition, and we can attack their weaknesses. Now, to do that in the space of a week, and I've said this often, sometimes you could do more with an origin team with the elite talent in 1 week than you could do with 2 off seasons with the outside.
Yeah.
That's true.
What we could achieve in the space of a week used to be phenomenal.
So-
And Queensland too, and that's why it was such a battle. But
So as a club coach, would you rather see like kids growing up and becoming successful in first grade, or would you rather coach the best in the game? So what do you rather?
I know I've always enjoyed the development side of it. I've always, development pathways and bringing kids through a system. I like to build a club, not a team. It's not about building just a first grade side, although that's the end result.
Yeah.
But it's building a club and building a system that kids aspire to be a part of, and they aspire to want to play first grade for that club and stay with that club. And we've been pretty successful with that over the years. It's Now, I love that part of it. Obviously, it's professional football. You've got to win.
Yeah, 100%.
You know, at the end of the day,
That's the aim.
You want the results,
Yeah, you've got to get the results. So,
Absolutely.
one of the things I prided on myself with coaching is that we could win a lot of games we weren't expected to win, which was, I think, sometimes the mark of your club and the spirit of your club.
Yeah.
And plenty of examples of that over the years. But Origin coaching with the great players, it's kind of easier, but it's harder in another respect because of who you're playing against.
Yeah.
You know, but it's definitely a different philosophy and a different sort of style. But I love the development side of rugby league.
Yeah.
My favourite part of the day at the Bulldogs is coming out at 5 o'clock in the afternoon and sitting down in the shade there and watching the kids train.
Yeah, it is a good feeling.
Like you're seeing their career unfold in front of you. You're seeing them develop.
Well, and you can tell, you can tell the ones that really love it. You can tell, the two things I look for in young players, everyone looks for talent and size and speed and all that. I look for how competitive they are, how much they want to compete, and do they love it?
That's the main thing.
Because if they don't love it, they're not going to do the hard work.
Yeah.
They're going to cut corners or shortcuts and they're going to let someone down. And sometimes players with great talent just don't have the inner drive. They just don't have the love for it that's going to be necessary to get them where they want to go. It's
Hard
not
work.
enough.
Yeah, hard work always beats talent. That's the saying. Like, if you're talented enough and you don't love it enough, the person that's working the hardest and that wants it,
Like Clear in the Y, have you seen that photo of them as a kid in the Penrith jersey?
the junior system.
The junior system? Like, look at them now. They're the greatest players in the game. So it's good to see players developing into the players they are today.
Yeah, it is. Absolutely.
But backtracking to New South Wales. Now, Michael Maguire is a new New South Wales coach heading into this season. What are your thoughts about, obviously, Brad Fittler is your mate, like you don't want to see him go. Now, Michael Maguire, do you think he'd be the man to, obviously win us the series this year?
I hope so. Like Michael's had experience. He's won a premiership as a club coach. He's had experience coaching New Zealand, so he understands the mentality of representative coaching. Yeah. They just flogged Australia in the last series.
Yeah, that's right.
So, he obviously got a knack for putting good teams together and for bringing them together in a short space of time. And we've got great talent. I mean, if our best side gets on the field, we're going to be extremely hard to beat. And I'm sure Michael will be good at that. Michael, as a player, didn't play Origin, but neither did I. Yeah. I was never in that representative scene as a player. But the fact that he's coached in it now for New Zealand will serve him well around preparation, bringing personalities together, picking the right people, understanding that level of competition, which is different. Sometimes you're picking players sheerly on their constitution and their toughness and their work ethic more than just talent. And I think he understands all that. So, no, we wish him well. We're all New South Wales fans. It doesn't
100%.
matter.
Hopefully.
Wouldn't matter if my mother was coaching me.
But honestly, what do you...
Although she thinks she can, but I don't know.
I mean, like, now Queensland, like, we always hear, they've got it. They know what Origin is. Billy Slater's won back-to-back Origin series in a row. Like, what do you think's missing with the New South Wales squad that, Queensland have already figured out?
Well, Origin was brought in because of Queensland. Yeah. Queensland owned Origin. Yeah. Queensland is all about Origin.
Arthur beats it.
And a lot of my philosophy around Origin coaching, I watched Origin in the 80s when it first started. Yeah. And Queensland were very dominant. And for a lot of the time, we couldn't work out why. Yeah. But I learned a lot from just watching Queensland and how they went about things, and learned a lot by watching New South Wales in what they probably weren't doing or what they weren't prioritising. Our formula worked, but New South Wales get it right every now and then, and sometimes they get it wrong. Yeah. Queensland rarely get it wrong.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. We'll talk about that drought.
They very rarely get it wrong. Yeah. So that's the real challenge of Origin for New South Wales is your opposition.
Yeah.
Any win against them is like a little chunk of gold. Because they don't beat themselves. They're hard to beat at any time. I don't know that Queensland get Origin better than we do. We just get it wrong sometimes. Yeah. But I'm sure it's not for lack of trying.
Yeah. Well, we'll move on to Penrith Panthers, your time as a general manager. Why did you take that role, and how was your time at the Panthers? Did you enjoy it?
Oh, I absolutely loved it. Yeah. So Penrith was my first ever club I played for back in the 70s. And around that time, around 2011, the club was struggling. The hospitality part of the club, which was a big business Panthers group, was struggling. And the football program had sort of was virtually non-existent. They didn't have enough money to sort of support the program that they wanted. So it was a whole rebuilding exercise. Yeah. But again, just one foot after the other, day after day, worked away at it, chipped away at it. There were times there where I wondered whether or not we'd ever get anywhere. Yeah. But there were a number of hurdles to overcome, both off the field and certainly on the field. Yeah. But I took a long-term approach to it. I wanted to fix it right. I wanted to fix it in the mould that I always thought that junior league and that area of Sydney deserved. I wanted it to be a powerhouse in the game. And Penrith achieved many great things off the field out there during that time, which will guarantee them sustainable success into the future. They won't always win premierships, but it'll certainly cut down the difference between their best and their worst, which if you look at their history before that, there were some spikes there where they won comps, but most of the time they rattled around the bottom of the table. And so we designed a system and got the right people working there to set up a system that hopefully has people wanting to play for the club, aspiring to play in the club. The building of the Panthers Academy was a big part of that. Yeah. Our association with Western New South Wales, from Bathurst out to sort of Dubbo and Orange and those areas there, we set out academies up there, and a lot of good kids have come from that area now. Yeah. Kids in the junior league all aspire to play for the Panthers. When I first went to Penrith, we went out into the schools, and I'd say, who likes rugby league? And all the hands would go up. Yeah. I'd say, who supports the Panthers?
No one.
Yeah, well.
A lot of Canterbury supporters?
I'd say, well, who do you support? We support Parramatta, we support Tigers, we support Bulldogs, we support Storm, we support Cowboys. Why? Jared Hayne, Matty Bowen, Benji Marshall.
Yeah, that's why the key
Billy
players.
Slater.
Yeah.
And kids love heroes.
Yeah.
They love little kids that make big blokes look stupid. Yeah. And Penrith, we didn't have any heroes. We didn't have anyone that they could relate to. Yeah. So we wanted to build the team that represented the demographic of Western Sydney, the people that lived in our area. We wanted the team to be built in that mould so that kids could aspire to it. And we wanted to have a connection between our club and the junior league clubs. And so we went out and did a lot of clinics at junior league grounds, and we invited them into the academy, and we built it for tours and all that sort of thing. So kids now in the Penrith area aspire. You go out to Penrith, everyone's wearing...
Penrith even in the area.
Going to the game, we went to the Dogs. Oh man, like you have little kids wearing Panthers. Panthers gear. I don't think they even know what rugby league is.
First time we ever went and did a clinic out of Bathurst.
Yeah.
We decided to take a home game for year every Bathurst, and we were going to develop out there. And I wanted to put something back into the area, so we went out there for our first clinic. And 300 kids come from miles around. They came from Wellington and everywhere just to come to this clinic. Wow. And we took a big photo of them at the end of it. And the one thing we noticed was there wasn't one Panther jersey in the photo.
Yeah. Oh, okay, right.
Oh, okay.
And I said, all right, let's give them all a T-shirt. Yeah. So we gave them all a Black Oak T-shirt to wear. Yeah. And those Black Oak T-shirts are now walking up and down the streets all over Western New South
That's
Wales.
it. You got to start somewhere.
I think you're the true hero by Penrith. You changed the club.
No. There's a lot of people work really hard. But it was a lot of hard work, particularly in the early days. And to build it right, it was always going to take time. Yeah. And we got fortunate because we happened upon a couple of really good groups of young players that came through the system, many of them from the Penrith area, most of them a lot of them from the academy out west, kids that we brought into the area as teenagers who have now made Penrith their home. They're married, they've got kids, they're the best players in the game, they're playing representative football, they've got big contracts. And it's a great success story. Hopefully Penrith keep winning for years and years and years.
And
it was a wonderful time.
Yeah, and Panthers right now, I think there has not been a stronger and better club than I think in NRL history. If you really look at it, they're just such a strong,
even if you think back
force.
to that three-peat with Parramatta, 81-83, even they weren't as dominant as the Panthers side today. Yeah. In my opinion.
Maybe because the competition was easier back then, or
it's different, very
different,
very different eras. Parramatta had that great era in the 80s and haven't won a competition since.
Since then.
So it'll be
how many years, guys?
Interesting to see where
40 years.
Hopefully it gets longer.
I don't think Panthers will have a drought like that.
Yeah.
No, never.
They're always going to be a great side.
No, it's been set up really well, and still people there working really hard at it, and they're very passionate about what they do. But it's it's been good for the game to have a strong out. Because when I first went out there, in soccer, the Wanderers had just moved into the area. GWS, the AFL team, had moved into Blacktown. And people were worrying about the future of rugby league out there because these other codes were going to come in and take over.
Yeah.
She's all rugby league.
4-peat this year? 4-peat?
Oh, they got a chance.
It can't be, Gus.
No, it's the Dogs' year.
It's the Dogs' year.
They're always going to be hard to beat.
It's the Bulldogs' year this year, Gus. It can't be.
Eventually.
Which players, like when you were general manager at the Panthers, are now playing with the Panthers? So which ones did you used to see grow up and develop? So what players?
Oh, a lot of them. Dylan Edwards, Brian Totter, the May boys. Certainly Jerome and Nathan Cleary, Sire Yeo, Liam Martin.
Incredible squad, man. That's crazy.
Mitch Kenny, the hooker. James Fisher-Harris came across from New Zealand while I was there. Yeah, so the nucleus of the side, started as teenagers in the club. And a lot of the ones that have left too. I mean, you fellas like Regan Campbell-Gillard and Bryce Cartwright who are playing with other clubs.
Yeah, they're with the Eels now,
A lot of kids come out of the Panthers system. Dallin Wateni, Zalesniak,
he's good, man.
Are playing first grade with other clubs. Salary cap wise now, I mean, they've had to lose Coruscant, they've lost Kick-Out, they've lost Steve Crichton. They've now lost
Burden too.
They've now lost Jerome Luai, but they'll have kids to replace them.
Yeah. What do you think about the media and fans calling us Canterbury Panthers? What's your opinions on that?
No.
It's just we're signing good players,
Yeah, we are.
At the end of the day.
We're trying. But our success will come with development. Our success will come with the pathways.
Yeah.
It's a few years away yet, but we've got a lot of kids in the system at the moment that I think are going to be Bulldogs with the NRL, with the NRL team. And I think over the next couple of years we'll see a few of them. We've already signed 3 or 4 of them longer than 2026, and by then they're in the top 30. Yeah. So we're sort of taking a bit of a gamble at the moment, but we're backing them in.
Yeah.
And I've been through this process a couple of times. So I would hope that by 2026 we've got 8 or 10 players in our top 30 that have come through a Bulldog Academy. And that's how I remember the Bulldogs as always being great. I had a reunion yesterday with the 1988 Premiership team.
Oh, really? Oh, that's good.
Wow.
And, there were a lot of blokes in that side that came from country and came into the club at very young ages. David Gillespie and Andrew Farrer and Paul Langmack and different kids that Michael Hagan came to the club at a very young age, came through the system here and went on to play in Premiership winning team and had great careers. And that's the way I like to build it. That's the way I like to build a club. We're still only in the very early stages here at the Bulldogs, but hopefully, they've had a tough time over the last decade. My aim is that they're never in that position again.
Because it's been a tough 7 years for Dogs. It's been very tough.
And there's nothing worse than being in a club that's struggling and trying to find answers, and the solutions aren't a quick fix.
Yeah.
Doesn't happen overnight.
It doesn't happen.
Yeah, it takes time.
We remember the great side, even just us as kids, at 2012 to 2016 was the last time we made final. We remember that era. Trent Hodkinson, Ben Barbers, they were our heroes. Josh Reynolds. Yep. So it's crazy. It's hard to think little kids these days. They don't know what the success is for the Bulldogs. They've never watched even some of them.
Well,
Dogs in
hopefully we've got a few players that they'll adopt as heroes. Yeah. We've got some really good players here at the moment, and then over the years, as they see these young fellas come through, I think there's some exciting young talents coming through. So we're going to take our time. Yeah. We're going to fix it right. Yeah. We've just got to be patient. But at the same time, I'm hoping that this team this year, does the Bulldogs proud and the fans proud, and people can get to support them. It's not easy. It's a tough competition.
Yeah. Well, let's move on to the Bulldogs now. When Potter came in as interim, did you expect such a quick improvement within the club? Like the commentators, everyone was getting back the name tag of the entertainers. So what were your thoughts in that period where the Bulldogs started playing free-flowing football? Well,
one of the issues was, and it still is today, is that one of the big factors in playing winning football is time spent playing together. Yeah. Particularly at the club level, building combinations and confidence each other and trust amongst the players. And there's just been too much player movement over the previous years and too many players from the outside that weren't sort of come through the Bulldog system that made it hard for coaches to pull them together. And then you had the 2 COVID years where there was no movement and they were living in Queensland and living in hotels, and it kind of, it had really made things difficult for the coaches. I felt sorry for Trent Barrett and those coaches that were here at the time. Right. And Mick Potter, it probably shocked a few people when I put him there, but Mick was a really steady. He was a Bulldog legend. I knew him really well. He was a senior coach. He was, calm, and he just kind of got them together and allowed them to play with a little bit more freedom. And I said, let's find out who can play, and who can't. And it sort of turned it around a little bit. But it's still been difficult. We've had to move a lot of players. Salary cap wise, we've had to move a lot of players. In just 2 years, from 2021 to the end of 2023, we've virtually turned them all over.
Yeah.
They've all,
Like that 2021 squad, it's like everyone in that top 30 doesn't play.
Yeah,
those
literally they're all gone.
Yeah.
So, and with all the staff too. So it's all new staff. So, Mick Potter played a big... That's why Mick's still with us as an assistant coach to Cameron Ciraldo. Josh Jackson retired during that time, which was a big blow for us because he was our leader. But still, the results weren't there.
So before Ciraldo joined the club, was there any other coaches that were maybe potentially joining the club? Was Potter in the picture? Was he going to be probably the head coach?
Yeah, well, in the early stages, talking to Cameron, and I thought Cameron was the long-term solution for us. But I was quite happy to go with Mick Potter for another year.
Yeah.
And I said to Cameron, stay at Penrith because we're not ready. Last year was always going to be a hard year. And it was made harder because we had a lot of injuries and we just didn't have the depth to cover it. But I'd said to Cameron, I said, stay at Penrith for another year. You'll win another comp. Come to us in 2024 this year and we'll be a little bit better prepared. And he thought about it and said, no, I'll come now. I was happy to leave Mick there for another 12 months. And when he met Mick and spoke to Mick, he took Mick onto his staff. Mick's still here. He's coaching our New South Wales Cup team now, and he'll be a good coach for the transition, kids coming through from younger grades up into playing against men. He's been a real asset to us, Mick Potter. Cameron Ciraldo's, I think, going to be a career coach, and he's had the experience of the development systems and pathways out at Penrith and winning premierships out there. So it's just about us now getting him a team that can be competitive with the best.
100%, yeah.
That's not easy. When you look at all the teams that are down the bottom, it's hard to get away from that. You need a special group of players that come together and carry the club on their own.
Like what was tough to say, as you said, wait out of the year, come like 2024, and like as you know, Dogs fans, how passionate they are about the game and whatever. I felt sorry for Cameron Ciraldo in a way where like that game we lost 66-0. Like really, the whole the blame was on the team and it was also on the coach mainly. We heard rumblings online or whatever. Look, I'm gonna be honest. Like even just me in general, even you start to question now. Ciraldo, I love the guy. I know he's the answer to win us that premiership. But even me at the time, and I can speak for the boys, we're questioning in a way. That 66-0, that's as low as you can get. And as I said, it's us passionate Dogs fans. It's hard to see on the weekend, losing to that margin. What was it like behind the scenes? Was it like what were the players saying, about that defeat, about the fans, or like was it chaos back behind the scenes about that game?
Yeah, well, firstly, we understand fans and we understand how they react and we understand that they have a passion for it and we understand criticism and we understand scrutiny from media and all that sort of thing. That's something that you live with in professional sport. Our season last year started pretty well. We won 3 of our first 5, and I think at the halfway point we'd won 5 out of 12, and there was another couple we could have won. So we were competitive, but we'd had too many injuries to too many key players.
That's right.
We really didn't have the depth. And around the middle of the year, a lot of young players got exposed to first grade that just weren't ready.
Yeah.
And we ran into some good teams at the time, and we had some bad score lines, but that's part of professional football. It's holding them together and saying, look, this is part of the process, and we can come out of the back of that. We won a couple of games after that game, but the last 12 games of the year, I think we only won 2, and we were beaten pretty comprehensively in a few, and that's where we need to make the improvement. Over the last 4 or 5 years, we've had some terrible score lines here, and
that's
we've won very few games. We've struggled to score points. We've struggled to defend points. So we're a long way off the pace, and we've got a lot of improving to do just to catch up with some of the other teams. So that's the improvement I'm looking for this year. They're difficult times, but you're going to get them in football, and you've just got to come out the other side. And sometimes it builds your character and helps you and pulls the team together. and I'm hoping that it does.
Like defensively this year, we do look good in pre-season. Like we're not conceding a lot of points,
Yeah,
which
yeah.
is good to see.
Yeah,
They're
only
yeah.
trials.
Yeah.
Like, and anyways, you're looking at the long-term results. Like, if you're losing 66-0 on the weekend, like for you yourself, Gus, you're looking long-term, as in where the Dogs will be in like 5 to 10 years' time.
Yeah, well, that was certainly a low point.
Yeah.
But you know, it's how you come out of that and what you learn from that to be able to move on. I think they won the next week.
Yeah,
Which was
that's right.
You know,
Always Bunnies, yeah.
Bunnies, yeah.
Which is a great turnaround. It's a great
for
mental
sure.
turnaround to be able to do that. And that happens in football.
Yeah.
It's never as bad as they say. It's never as good as they say.
Yeah, yeah,
You've got to
yeah.
sort of keep yourself
Yeah.
on an even keel. But I'm hoping we don't see score lines like that ever again.
I don't think we'd see it ever
No, I
again.
don't think so.
I truly think it's done for. As you said, club on the rebuild. I feel like this year is the year that we're going to, personally myself, I think we're going to win this year. But
Yeah, same
anyways,
here.
but like moving on, like now we're talking about that 66-0 defeat and how the club was on the rebuild, even just last year. What's the biggest change you've seen with the boys from last year to even pre-season this year?
I think the work ethic and the professionalism at training.
Yeah.
In our recruitment this year, we've given opportunity to some players that probably weren't the main man at their previous club, but they played with successful clubs. So a couple from South Sydney, Roosters, Panthers have come to our club. They know what winning looks like. They know what professionalism looks like. It's certainly raised the standards here. You know, they'll need some success early to give confidence. Confidence is a big thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Time spent playing together is a big thing. They can simulate as much as they like at training, play as many trials as you like. That's not going to get you ready. You know, they've got to spend time playing together.
Yeah.
How the combinations form in the early weeks, that's up to the coaches. They pick the teams. You know, injuries can change your team from week to week, and hopefully we don't get too many of those. But I think we've got good coverage across most positions. We're probably short a couple of front rowers, and a couple of our promising ones have played very, very little football over the last 12, 18 months.
Yeah.
We're hoping that we can keep them on the field and they can get some miles in their legs and prove them. We've got a few bodies coming into the club just to help out with that, some senior talent. But over time, our aim is to build the club and build the first grade side. And I'm hoping this year, and I'm sure this year will be much improved. I just don't want to see the types of results that we've had in the past.
Yeah, nah, for sure.
Like as you know, Gus, us Doggies fans, we have this connection with the junior players that come up in first grade footy. Like you look at Preston, you got back in the days Josh Reynolds and that. And considering Averillo and Aaron Shuopp were the players that left, and considering that connection we had with them, how hard of a decision was it to let them go, especially with that bond we had with them?
Yeah, you know, people always love their local juniors, and they were tough decisions, but they were based mainly around salary caps and the type of wages they were on and the wages they were commanding and priorities that we had in other areas. Difficult for them, and I think those players came through at a difficult time with the club too. I think that the pathways and the development program here probably wasn't what it should have been, which meant they weren't as ready for NRL as they possibly could have been. I think Jake will do really well playing with more senior players up there at the Dolphins. And Paul Alamonte, I think it's a great move for him to go to Penrith too, because you've seen a lot of players, you know, fringe players from clubs go to Penrith and have good seasons out there, and he'll learn more what it's about. But you know, in the meantime, we've picked up Stephen Crichton and Bronson Zeri and players like that who've got a bit of experience under their belt and come through different systems. Yeah, you're always going to have tough decisions when you let people like that go.
Yeah.
But all the reasons you think of to keep them, we've considered those too.
Yeah,
and we did it anyway.
Yeah.
You know,
100%.
so they're always tough, but we're cheering for them. They're always Bulldogs, and we want them to do well.
Yeah, 100%.
We've got some really nice young kids coming through the system, and it's about stretching out your salary cap, not this year, but over the next 2 or 3 years, and make sure you've got things available. And players have got to earn money. If they can get the money somewhere, they've got to go and take it.
Fair enough,
Yeah, every now and then there's a disappointing one, and they were a couple of difficult choices, but we had to make them at the time.
Tevita Pangai Jr. leaving the club. So how did you react about the news when they broke on the social media and mainstream media?
Oh, well, Tevita told us. We were the first to know.
Yeah, 100%.
And to be honest, it wasn't that much of a shock.
Yeah.
As I said to you earlier in this interview, you know, you've got to love the game and you've got to love the work ethic that goes with it. And Tevita just came to a point where he felt he couldn't give 100% anymore, and he made the decision, he didn't discuss it with us. He just came in one day and he said, I think I've had enough.
Had enough.
Of something else. Now, I'm hoping that he goes away from the game, misses it really badly and wants to come back to it.
Yeah.
But he felt that he couldn't give 100% the way it was. I suppose living away from home, living away from family, playing with a struggling team, being on a big contract and under a lot of scrutiny. There's a lot of pressure on these kids.
Yeah.
It's pretty intense for them. And Tevita just made the decision he wanted to step away from that. Again, it leaves a hole in our roster and leaves a hole in our club that's got to be filled. And there aren't too many front rowers on the market.
He's got potential, Pangai. He's a very good player. Like, if he on his day, he can be the most damaging forward in the game.
Yeah.
He's a representative class player.
Yeah, he's very good.
As I said, you've got to love it.
Yeah.
It's hard work.
Yeah.
It's really hard work. And if you haven't got that love for it, it can be really draining. And I think that's where he got to personally. We tried to talk to him, but his mind was made up. I think he'll come back. I think he'll play rugby league again. I think he'll miss it too much.
I
But
think
if he doesn't, that's his decision.
I think he's already back, because it was even tough to see when we heard the news. I think it was last week. He's now playing for the South Logan Magpies in the Queensland Cup.
Yeah,
so he's back into the rugby league scene. It was tough to see that, hearing that news, in the way he departed from the Dogs, saying he fell out of love with the game. Now he's back in the game. Like, for me as a fan speaking, it was tough to see that. It was like almost a way out of his contract, in my opinion. But I don't know. It was
out of his contract to play with South Logan.
No, as in, I know, in a way, but as in, because he said he grew out of love for the game, and his parents forced him, whatever, and now he's going back into the rugby league scene. It's like, what was that quick turnaround?
I think people read a bit too much into things.
Yeah. Maybe I'm reading too much. Maybe I'm just a Dogs fan.
I think so.
But yeah.
Bill, don't you want to mention that?
Oh yeah.
Yes.
Gus, I don't know if you've heard about it. The 2024 Bulldogs theory. Have you heard about it by any chance?
Oh, this is about the 84, 94.
Yeah,
Exactly. So
correct,
every 20 years, for those of you who don't know, every 20 years the Bulldogs win a premiership from 74 to present day. On top of that, last time someone went 3 in a row, Parramatta, Dogs won the next year. Who just did that? Panthers. So, Gus, I want to get your thoughts about that. What do you think about that? Is it the Dogs year this year? Because everything's shaping up to be.
That'd be nice.
So you think, do I put my house on? I'm asking for a friend.
I wouldn't be putting your house on.
You can lift another premiership.
Gamble responsibly.
That's not financial
Are you
advice.
someone that believes history can repeat itself?
Well, if you ignore history, you're doomed to repeat it.
Yeah, that's all right.
I think that those sort of things are nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
Be a fair bit of a challenge for us at this stage, but I'm not thinking along those lines.
just take it game by game and see how it goes.
That's all we can do.
Yeah.
Game by game, year by year.
Yeah,
And,
100%.
my head's always 2 or 3 years down the track. Not
Yeah.
so much
Long term.
now. But look, they're training well. They're training really hard. The group's slowly coming together. They had an off-season camp where they went away and did a camp with some
Yeah, that's always good.
with an army group, and a lot of players sort of rose to the occasion out of that, which was great. But all the other teams are doing that too. All the other teams are training well. All the other teams are recruiting.
Well,
all the
that's-
other teams are developing. It's tough competition, and as you've seen with a number of other clubs, not just us, when you sort of get down that bottom, it's hard.
Yeah, it is.
It's really hard work.
It is.
And the hardest part is the other sides are so good.
Yeah.
So we'll get out of it. It's only a matter of time.
Do you think we can have a season like we look at the Cowboys 2 years ago, came 15th, they shocked the NRL and they made top 4. Warriors did the same last year. So do you think there is a potential that if the boys click, we don't have any injuries and just everything starts to gel together, we can really go on that run?
Well, we always live in hope.
Yeah.
Usually when that happens, the team shouldn't have run 15th the year before.
Yeah.
There's
Yeah.
reasons why they underperformed
That's
or
right.
what have you. We've been at the tail of the field because that's what we were.
Yeah.
We're slowly trying to come out of that. It's very, very difficult. And I know the fans are looking for success. I think fans understand it's going to take time, but can you just win this week?
Yeah.
That's it, yeah.
To get the
That's
results.
it.
And that's the world we live in.
Yeah.
And we understand that.
Like us delusional Dogs fans, we understand that, but as you said, you want results on the weekend.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And no one likes losing.
Yeah.
No one
yeah.
likes
We don't like losing.
100%.
No one in our organisation.
We want to win on the weekend.
Yeah,
But Gus,
it's
yeah.
an awful place to be in a losing football club.
Yeah,
Nah,
it's,
for
it's
sure.
not a healthy
Doesn't
environment.
matter what job you
Yeah.
You
do.
got to think long term, no matter what. Yeah,
Everyone
professional.
down there who works so hard, everyone in the administration, in the office, and everyone who works in marketing and
Yeah.
merchandise, and works in sponsorship, and works in membership, and works in ground, game day activities and ground. Everyone that works down there and works really hard, they're all judged by that scoreboard on Sunday.
Yeah, that's right.
And they feel it.
Yeah.
And it's not fair sometimes.
Because they're putting all the hard effort in, and then the results don't come on.
Really hard, doing a great job down there.
Yeah.
But if the first grade side gets belted on the weekend, everyone feels down.
Yeah,
that's
no
right.
one enjoys it. So we don't enjoy losing, I'll guarantee you that.
No. But Gus, I got to ask, will the final word ever make a comeback?
No, I'm too old.
Surely makes it just maybe one Origin series, one off, maybe the last final word.
I forget my lines.
Is it scripted, or you just say it on the day?
I used to do it myself.
Yeah?
I don't know how it started. I kind of remember where it started, but it sort of grew into something bigger than I thought it would ever be.
Because the hype was so
fun.
crazy when you were doing that talk. Oh, great feeling.
Yeah, we're all getting older now.
Yeah.
A few more questions just to wrap up the pod. Gus, I got to get your opinions. Are the refs too involved in today's game in comparison to yesterday's game?
Our game is, I believe, over officiated and over refereed.
Yeah.
It's over policed.
Yeah.
It's over scrutinised. But I've felt that for a number of years. I felt that a lot of the decisions in different directions of our game, doctors and lawyers have had more to say about it than anybody else. I think coaches have had too much interference with the rules.
Okay,
Which has made it difficult for referees.
Yeah.
I don't blame the referees for the fact we're over refereed.
Yeah.
But that's just how the game has evolved, and that's where it is. And to be honest, kids today don't know any different.
Yeah.
That's all
Yeah.
they
That's
grow
right.
up with. So
Exactly.
it's only us old timers that have a whinge about it.
Yeah.
But it's, I think at times we make it too difficult to play, and sometimes very difficult to understand. Like we're just about to go to Vegas and try to sell the game to America.
Yeah.
When our referees do some of the things they do, they're going to say, "What was that for?"
Yeah, exactly.
How are they going to understand the rules?
Like, what are your opinions about Vegas? Do you think it's going to be a success, or like, how are you going about this? Like, what are your opinions about it?
I hope it is a success. I hope it is. But it's not going to be a success just a one-off.
Yeah.
It'll be a success for us here in Australia because we'll enjoy watching the game over there.
Yeah.
But whether the Americans watch it is another thing.
Yeah.
And whether or not they invest in it or gamble on it or whatever is another completely thing. They've got to go there for 20 years to build a market.
Will you be in Vegas for commentary in that?
No, I won't. I heard a great saying the other day. They said, the saying said, the best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The second best time to plant it is now.
Yeah.
In other words, in 20 years' time, someone might be really glad that they planted this seed.
Yeah,
exactly.
that's
You
well
know,
said.
and
Yeah.
if someone had planted it 20 years ago, maybe things would look different today.
Would have had a lead in America.
It's the same when you're developing a club.
Yeah.
At some stage, someone's got to stop, dig a hole,
Yeah.
plant some seeds
Yeah.
that's going to grow
Start
into
from
something.
scratch.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you get 6-10 years down the track and you're going, I wish we'd have done that 10 years ago.
Exactly.
That's
exactly.
correct.
So someone's got to start.
Yeah.
And I'm hoping, in 10 years' time, the Bulldogs are happy with what we're doing now. That's,
Maybe we'll be playing in Vegas in 10 years' time,
Well,
Hopefully.
hopefully we're good enough.
That's it. But like something they get right over there is the NRL. They do a draft like the NBA. I think NFL does.
Yeah, NFL does
it.
Do you reckon a draft system should be implemented in the NRL?
Well, firstly, we're a very small country.
Yeah, we are.
Very small country. And rugby league's only played on the eastern seaboard of Australia, in New South Wales and Queensland. It's a very small market. It's a very small player pool. And it makes it difficult to enforce a draft where you're going to relocate kids at 18, 19 years of age. And my view has always been, I wrote this 20 years ago, that we should restrict kids from playing first grade until they're 21, which they do in the United States. They don't play professional sports until they're 21, but they have a collegiate system, the college system over there. We don't have that over here.
Yeah.
We tried to create that with the NYC, the National Youth Competition. We got rid of that 6 or 7 years ago for the wrong reasons. So without those development pathways or opportunities, it's hard to have what I'd call an external draft. Internal draft, movement between clubs of NRL players, should be subject to some sort of restriction, other than just the salary cap, because we have players signing 12 months in advance with other clubs, players gravitating to the top sides. The big clubs seem to be able to attract the better talent, the lower ones can't. It's hard for lower clubs to attract talent. Although we've got a great example now where Tigers have been able to pick up Jerome Luai, and we've been able to pick up Stephen Crichton but that's mainly on relationships, not
Yeah.
the system. The system didn't do that.
Yeah.
I think there should be some form of draft or restriction. And again, if you plant the seed now, you might be glad you got it in 20 years' time.
For sure.
Absolutely.
No, exactly.
What was your favourite NRL commentary in your career?
That moment.
Favourite
NRL
moment?
commentary. Oh, wow.
It's got to be a tough one there.
Yeah, absolutely. I loved working with Ray Warren. It was a lot of fun working with Ray, and we had some terrific times together in that. I think the game that stood out for us was the grand final, Cowboys and Broncos.
Oh, yeah.
I think that's got to be up
The
there.
theatre at the end of it. The theatre at the end of it with Thurston and hitting the post with the goal, scoring in the last seconds, hitting the post with the goal, kicking the field goal to win the competition was as much theatre as you could possibly get.
Yeah.
Matched probably by what Panthers did at the back end of last year with Nathan Cleary.
Nathan Cleary.
Origin, great finishes in Origin. There are great moments. You see extraordinary moments and flashes of skill in club games at different times. So I love the commentary. It's not working. It's hardly a job.
Yeah.
It's been a blessing to have a job like that.
Now, I've got a question. Why the name Gus? Nickname
How did
Gus?
it come to be? Like, who started it?
Yeah.
Tell us the story.
A bloke called Kenny Wilson gave me that nickname when I was at Newtown. Kenny was with us at Penrith too. I kind of had it at Penrith, but then he enforced it at Newtown, and it was from a song, Simon and Garfunkel song, and at one stage they say, "Get on the bus, Gus." And that's how I got it.
Okay.
enough.
That's a nice
Get on the
one.
bus.
I was wondering that since I was 5.
We were having a long road run, and I wasn't doing too well. And
Yeah.
the bus to Clovelly was going up the hill, and Kenny Wilson said, "Get on the bus, Gus."
That's a
Well, look, one last question to wrap up the pod. We want to get your NRL Mount Rushmore.
NRL Mount Rushmore.
So, like,
So like your top four.
the Mount Rushmore in America, like it's a thing that goes around throughout every sport. It's like your top 4 faces of the game, like the greatest
Yeah, so top 4 greatest
Of all time.
of all time.
of all time.
Of all time,
Yeah.
yeah.
Of all time. Oh, that's a bit hard.
I'll give us
Should've-
one if you want.
Yeah, give us.
Your best player in NRL.
I think the players that I grew up loving were the Dragons players because they had that big run.
Yeah,
back
yeah.
then. That's long before your time. I think Arthur Beetson was one of the greatest players I ever saw, and he was a monument to the game. There've been some wonderful people and people that have worked hard for the game and changed the game, changed the way the game was played, changed the way the game was coached. You'd probably have to have a Craig Bellamy or a Wayne Bennett up on Mount Rushmore somewhere.
have to.
I think Arthur Beetson, probably a Wally Lewis.
Yeah, that's
He
it.
was the great.
I might be a bit biased, but those sort of players. My favourite players were Johnny Raper and Graham Langlands, which were a long time ago. But there have been some. You need a lot more room on my Mount Rushmore, I think. So.
There's a lot of great players out there.
But one more question, Gus. We'll wrap it up. Why is there no home games in Belmore? Why is it over in a core stadium still? If you want to just
We have 2 home games a year at Belmore.
yeah, as in like week in week out. As in a core stadium is our home.
Yeah, well, that's financial considerations, comfort considerations. With Belmore, I know it's nostalgic and everyone loves being there,
For
but
sure.
if it rains, we really can't get food in to cater for you.
True.
We can't get,
Yeah.
it's hard, and we don't make any money at Belmore.
Yeah.
We have to completely sell Belmore out to break even.
Oh, okay.
To break even.
Wow, route to even break even.
Oh,
Fair enough.
yeah.
We can have no crowd at Acor and still make good money. Through the deal that we got, and a lot of our money comes from corporate hospitality. So we can't have corporate hospitality at Belmore.
Yeah.
Acor has obviously got all the entertainment areas and the corporate boxes, and we hope over time our crowds are getting to 30 and 40,000. And it's financial and it's comfort and this is our spiritual home.
Yeah.
It's where we're going to build our centre of excellence. It's going to be our training venue for a long time. We play a couple of home games a year here now for the fans, but business-wise and corporately for the club, they can't survive if they play all their home games at Belmore.
It's a business at the end of the day.
That's just reality.
No, for sure.
Well, we're here at Jobels. It'll be the right thing to ask. What is your favourite meal at Jobels, and what do you love about this whole community here?
I love the Belmore community. Jobels, I have an acai bowl.
Yeah, that's,
$3. 3 days.
It's an unbeatable texture, Gus.
And a couple of things aren't on the menu that I make for me personally. So
Customised,
they haven't made their way to the menu.
yeah.
No.
Fair enough. They need something named after you here.
Something named after me.
Yeah.
A food menu, a food item, or I don't tell Josephine.
What do you reckon?
I'll have to
What do you
ask
reckon?
her.
What do you reckon?
Named after Gussie, Josephine.
She's got my corner here. So
Yes, it's
That's
Yeah.
it.
No
For
one's
those of you who
allowed.
don't know, we're sitting on the Gus table. Gus, I got to ask, how do I get a table here at Jobels?
I don't know. When I used to come in here, even when I was at Penrith, I would come here and have meetings with player managers because it was central.
Yeah.
And I'd always sit up here in the corner. Otherwise,
really?
people are taking photos.
okay,
So my secret meetings were up here in the
All
corner.
right, fair
So
enough.
when I came to Belmore, she put the thing up
Yeah.
there.
Lucky man.
So that's how it came to be. But anyways, again, Gus, it's an honour to have you
Thank
on,
you
man.
so
Really
much.
appreciated your time out of your busy day too. Also, one more thing, we
got
got
a
you a
gift.
present.
Just to just show your appreciation for you coming on our podcast.
Oh wow! Thank you very much.
No worries.
Very kind of you.
It's just, we thought to get you a little bulldog with the Jameson bottle.
You guys want to see it? There it is.
I want to thank you so much, and thank
And
you to Josephine
Thank
for
Thank you, Josephine.
getting us
for
Thank
Gus
you.
Gould
setting
on the
this up. You know,
podcast.
she's been an absolute gem. Thanks, Josephine.
Yeah, we'll
Yeah.
follow
But anyways, if you're new here, hit the like button, hit subscribe, comment down below, and take it easy.